That would be our bigger model. This is our 600 square foot. Our bigger model is 1,200 square feet, and that's what we've basically based all our numbers off of. That was our original model that we made. Again, getting back to the original parameters, were meaningful in size, and we looked at a lot of people that were, you know, not huge farms, but your average farm, 50 head of animal was just sort of that spot. We developed this one because we ended up fielding a lot of phone calls of guys that had 20 or 30 head of animal, and they just couldn't justify the expense of a bigger one with their herd. So we developed a smaller model, and this one has basically everything is the same on it, just a little bit smaller footprint. But any questions?
Does it come with the brushes too? They're part of it? Yeah.
That comes with the brushes, yeah. So that was something we added, basically this last year we added brushes and extendable tongue just for easy to hook up and move. We noticed as we went around to a lot of farms, all the paint was rubbed off on the bottom side of the bars. And we thought, well, why not put brushes on? We have an oiler system, actually the exact same oiler system that Tim's got set up back there in it's just an oiler system and brushes, and we have that system, and we've purchased their brushes and just bolted them right on, and the cows use them. It doesn't take them long to find it.
How long does the tarp last for?
The tarp has a 10-year UV rating, and that's based on like a greenhouse system, so 365 days a year down in some southern Florida sun or something like that. So again, if you go back to that parameter 120 or even 180 days, or even 365 days, but half of it's closed up, it's not under that same pressure. So if it's a 10-year UV rating based on the manufacturer's suggestion, we think that could go quite a bit longer than that. But again, conservatively speaking, a decade. We started in 2012. If you look at the cloth on the one that was in 2012 and you look at the cloth on this one, which was just finished 3 days ago, there's not really a whole lot of difference outside of the amount of bird poop that's on it. So there really isn't. It doesn't seem to deteriorate, and it's an industry system that's designed for sun. It's not the knitted fabric. It's an 80% shade cloth, so it has some bit of light that comes through with it. That also allows the wind to pass through with it to give its wind rating. We get a 35 mile an hour sustained wind with 60 mile an hour gusts, and that's basically your average. I mean, that's well over your average just weather event in the summer storm. If you do have a big event, big weather storm coming in, easy enough to go out there and close it up. But if you think about the need for heat stress relief after 35 mile an hour winds, there really isn't much need for shade. But yeah.
Have you had them flipping over already?
I have to say we have. It took about 3 years before the first one flipped over. In that situation, the farmer did not have his outriggers put out. And
How did it look?
How did it look?
Like getting one kind of a man.
It doesn't take much. The truss is bent, but there was a few holes poked in the fabric. But as I say, in the fabric, it's not like a sweater where it's just going to start to unravel. The hole stays exactly the same as it was, so you don't have to worry about it unraveling. He basically replaced the trusses, and in that case, yeah, a bunch of the trusses got bent. I think it was probably about $600 worth of equipment, and he had his back and ready. And like I say, he didn't have his outriggers out. As farmers, we all get kind of caught up and don't have enough time. It looks stable, you pull it out there, you left it there, you left the outriggers folded in, and well, it's a tripod. It's pretty tippy when it's not deployed properly. And it definitely does not have that strong of a wind rating in those situations. Outside of that, I don't think it would ever flip over if it was deployed properly. That's not to say it wouldn't get damaged. The trusses are fairly light gauge. It weighs about 2,000 pounds. And for you to flip that over, you'd have to lift it by the trusses. I think the trusses would bend and they'd fold back on each other. So sort of the same problem. It just isn't going to turn into a tumbleweed and move across your field. But all easily sourced parts. Repair is not a problem. It's all very simply put together. You know, if you look at most of the other equipment on your farm, this is a very, very, very simple tool. It's a new tool, and farmers are often sort of a little surprised by it, or you know, a little nervous. But it's a very simple tool.
What's the cost?
Cost. Two different sizes. 600 square feet. It's 11,900 US, and I think if I got that right, that's about 16,000 Canadian right now. Our big one, 1,200 square feet, is 17,900. Think about 23,000 Canadian. This is the 5th one to come to Ontario. We have a couple other farms nearby that have the smaller model, and this one here we brought up. Tim is we're looking at he'll be a dealer for us, and he's looking to connect with them, and he's found someone to buy this one. So
Better off to make them here and ship them down there.
The first farm that bought one in Canada, they are also a manufacturing shop, and they looked at, that was their first question. They said, could we manufacture? And we looked at a partnership that would allow them to manufacture. The odd thing is they couldn't do it cheaper. We went through the whole process, and it was it just, a lot of that is, we're a small company, and we try very, very hard to recognize that it's a very expensive product, and we are subsidizing the labor on it is to probably too far. If you can't make it here for cheaper than what we could bring it in for. But yeah, it's a unique new tool. People are intrigued by it. They're all taken back by the price. However, if you look at it from the other way, which is a 3-year payback, you kind of take that without getting it. To think that you're losing that kind of money every 3 years is kind of a punch in the gut in the opposite direction. We had a farmer once say that to us. He called us, and the first time he called us, we told him the price, and he hung up the phone just about as fast as we said the price. And a couple of years later, he called up and he ordered one, and he said, well, I realized I was paying for it anyways. Either I get it and I get to use it, or I just pay for it and I don't get to use it, and I got to pay for it year after year after year. So if you're in it for multiple years, if you're looking at the future, it's a useful tool. If you're looking at getting out of farming next year, well, probably not something you need, but there's probably a lot of things on your farm that you don't need then. So, but hopefully we're all here for the same reason, that we're looking for the future, and we're looking to progress this style of farming, grass-based farming. As Sarah spoke about, it's about keeping input costs low. If you got to move your animals into an area like a barn, you got to start feeding them hay. Those are all input costs. Yes, this is an input cost too. However, you don't have to replace it year after year after year.
What keeps the animals from moving that around? Is there any kind of braking system, or is that the outriggers hold it?
The outriggers hold it. It doesn't need a brake. I mean, animals, they don't get together, team up, and all go in one direction. They generally, if there's one here pushing that way, there's another one on the other side pushing that way. Does it move a little bit? It might. But is it going to matter if it moves 6 inches that way from when you came out before or not? I guess if you parked it too close to a tree, it might, but it just isn't going to move that far. Animals haven't figured that one out yet.
Can you put a mineral feeder in it too?
We do. We have had mineral feeders in the back, and you can set that on there. That works. To some degree, there's a lot of other designs already out there, and a lot of this is to spread them out on your pasture. So you don't want it next to the water.